They followed the blue line on their phone, right into a road that never existed. The asphalt crumbled beneath their tires. The trees closed in. No GPS, no signal, no trace of them ever again. But that's not the part that will keep you up tonight. Because what one survivor remembered shouldn't have been possible. She was supposed to meet her fiancé in the next town. A simple 45-minute drive through familiar countryside. But something strange happened the moment Talia Veers typed in the location. Her phone rerouted, not once, 3 times. "It's probably just traffic," she whispered, not knowing the last message she'd ever send would be, "This shortcut is weird, but cool." The next morning, her car was found, abandoned on a dirt path deep inside a forest that didn't exist on any local map. No roads, no tire tracks, just one thing on the seat, her phone, still recording, and in the background, breathing, heavy, rhythmic, not hers. "I thought it was just fog," her voice says in the last 2-minute clip. But the road was too smooth, too perfect, like someone just made it. She giggles nervously. Then she whispers, "Weird. That house wasn't here before." But there's no house visible in the video. Just trees, bending slightly, like they're listening. Then silence. Total stillness. Before the phone slips sideways. Talia had always trusted GPS more than people. Especially after what happened in college. She'd gotten lost one night. Tried asking a stranger for directions. She barely made it out. Since then, she never veered off the app's blue line. So when her route suddenly rerouted near Marrow Creek, she ignored the discomfort in her stomach, the pressure behind her eyes, the taste of copper rising in her throat. She just turned, exactly as instructed. But she wasn't the only one. 2 months earlier, a couple named Kent and Brielle Roth had followed a similar reroute. They were headed to a wedding. They never made it. Their last known location? Also traced to the same phantom path, one not recognized by satellite. Brielle's sister tried the coordinates weeks later, and what she found changed her forever, because the road appeared only when she was alone, only when her phone hit 3% battery, only when the wind whispered her name. Brielle. Here's the part no one talks about. When Talia's mother played back the final phone footage, frame by frame, she noticed something in the rearview mirror. A silhouette. Too tall. Too still. It didn't blink. Didn't breathe. And it stayed behind the car, even when it started to move again. Next to the mirror, the digital map on the phone flickered and showed something chilling. Next turn. Yours. She came back barefoot, scratched, bleeding, muttering about roads that moved, signs that whispered, and a man with no face, waiting at the bend. She was the only one who escaped that place. But what she remembered didn't belong in this world. 3 days after Talia vanished, another woman walked into a gas station on the edge of Marrow Creek. She was shaking, her mouth dry, hair clumped with dried leaves and mud. Her name was Morgan Tellis, a 27-year-old nurse who had gone missing 2 months before. No one even knew she was alive. Until that night. "The trees weren't trees," she whispered. "They looked like it, but they were watching, listening." She couldn't explain how she got out, only that she remembered falling asleep in the car, then waking up somewhere else. Not a forest, not a road, something in between. There were no sounds, just this hum, like wires buzzing in your teeth. And then the breathing, always from behind. Morgan had been driving from a night shift at the hospital. Exhausted, she didn't notice the reroute at first. "It was only 10 minutes longer," she said. "I thought I hit the wrong button." The new road was sleek, shiny, like rain-slick pavement, but the sky was dry. She remembered feeling strangely awake as she turned in, like her blood turned electric. She swore she saw lights in the trees, tiny ones, blinking, following. "I should have turned around," she muttered. "But the road, it wouldn't let me." When detectives analyzed Morgan's phone, they found something deeply disturbing. Her last map update showed her car turning off Route 9, onto a path marked only with 3 letters. Dev. The road didn't lead to any town. No satellite coverage. No signal. Nothing. Simply looped. Perfect circle. But here's what made one officer throw up. The time estimate showed infinity min. Infinity. Morgan said she drove for hours, but the gas never ran out. Her clock never changed. And she kept passing the same sign. You're almost home. That's when she saw him. A man. Middle of the road. Arms by his side. No features. Just skin. Stretched where eyes, a mouth, and a nose should be. As if someone erased his face and left only intent. He tilted his head, Morgan whispered, like he was waiting for me to recognize him. She slammed the brakes, closed her eyes. When she opened them, the man was gone, but the sign had changed. Next turn, you. Morgan said she ran, left the car, bolted into the trees that weren't trees. They whispered to her, in her grandmother's voice, in her ex-boyfriend's laugh, in screams she didn't recognize. They called her name, promised she could leave, if she finished the circle. It wasn't a place, she told investigators. It was a choice. And that's when she remembered the stories. Old folklore, about roads that appear for those who feel lost. But not the kind of lost that GPS can fix. The kind of lost that lives in your soul. Morgan never found her car again. The clothes she wore weren't hers. And when doctors ran blood work, it showed traces of a sedative never approved for human use. She has no idea how it got into her system. She never remembers being injected. But the needle marks on her arm told a different story. And her final words, before she disappeared from the clinic? It's not over. They're still mapping us. He created the code that changed everything, then erased himself from the world. No last login. No goodbye message. Just an open laptop, streaming his own front door, even though no one was home. His eyes were wide open in the footage. But he wasn't blinking. Because he wasn't alive. The police never released his full name. Only his handle, Echo Void 42. He was a contract coder for a third-party GPS enhancement team, working deep in the back end of a major map system. His job? Designing reroute logic for off-grid access paths. He told friends he discovered a dead zone in the system, a space the satellite passed over, but couldn't register. It's like the Earth folds there, he said once in a forum post, and the maps follow the fold. Then one day, he posted a message that made no sense to most. But to one person, it was a confession. They're not bugs. They're invitations. If your route suddenly changes, don't follow it. I didn't code that. Something else did. It's using our roads. Like threads in a web. The post was deleted 4 minutes later. And so was he. A neighbor said she heard something strange. A hum. Not mechanical. More like breathing through wires. She saw lights flicker in his apartment. Then darkness. When police broke in, his computer was still on. But his chair was empty. On screen, a live stream from a street camera. Facing his own building. His own floor. His door. Every few minutes, the camera twitched. Just slightly. As if something tall brushed past it. And then, the screen went black. Investigators found a corrupted file on a backup USB. One folder. No name. Just coordinates. And a note. If you map it, it exists. If you follow it, it sees you. Inside the folder? Fragments of a digital map. One that spiraled inward, into a shape that looked almost like a fingerprint. But every ridge was a road. Every turn, and Morgan Tellis's GPS logs, Talia Veer's last known coordinates, the Roth couple's final route. All 3 matched a path in this digital fingerprint. This wasn't random. This wasn't a glitch. It was by design. He didn't build the roads, one tech investigator said. He uncovered them, but something didn't want them uncovered. And the people who followed them, they weren't just lost. They were rewritten. 3 weeks later, someone accessed his GitHub from an unknown IP. They uploaded one final update. Just one line of code. In a language no one could fully decode. But part of it translated to, "Turn left. We miss you." After that, every time police analysts tried to run the simulation of the map, their systems crashed. And one reported something disturbing. He said he heard his own voice whispering from the laptop speakers, repeating the same thing, over and over. "Next turn is yours." A week after the livestream footage disappeared, the apartment above the coders was vacated. The tenant broke his lease in a panic. Said he saw someone outside his window, only his window was on the 12th floor. He left behind a drawing, scratched in ink into the kitchen wall, a tangled, coiled path leading to a black doorway, and written underneath one sentence, "The road goes through you and not around." 3 weeks after burying his daughter, his phone lit up. New location from Haley. He froze. She'd been dead for 22 days. But her icon was moving, ping by ping, step by step, into a forest that didn't exist on any map. And when he followed it, he found her shoes, still warm. Aaron Mickelson wasn't a believer in signs. He believed in logic, loss, and what could be proven. After Haley's tragic accident, a sudden swerve on wet roads, she was declared dead at the scene. 21 years old. Gone. He held her phone in his hand that night. It was shattered, but intact, like it had been placed there, not flung. And that bothered him, more than he ever admitted. On a rainy Tuesday night, he was preparing to box up her belongings. That's when his phone vibrated. New location update. Haley M. Shared via Google Maps. His hands shook. He blinked twice. It had to be a glitch. But there it was. Her profile picture. Her familiar smile. The icon slowly pulsing. Moving. He tapped it. And the map opened. It didn't lead to her university. Not her old apartment. Not the hospital. The blue dot was gliding across a blank, grayed-out space. No road. No name. No satellite image. Just coordinates that pulsed like a heartbeat. 2 days before the crash, Haley had called him crying. She said she'd taken a shortcut, that her map glitched out, that she saw a house that shouldn't be there. She described a man standing in the road. No face, just a white shirt and black pants. No sound, no traffic. "Dad, it felt like a loop, like I drove in a circle but the sky kept getting darker." He dismissed it as stress, told her to get some sleep, told her not to scare herself with stories. He would never forgive himself for that. Now, 22 days after the funeral, her icon was moving again. He screen recorded it, watched as it hovered in the middle of nowhere, then stopped. He looked up the location. Nothing. No roads. No trails. No parks. Just one odd detail. The area was labeled in the metadata with a single word. Threadpoint. Google never acknowledged what that meant. No official tag. No local reference. But he packed his coat and flashlight and drove out that night. The air changed the moment he turned off the highway. It smelled burnt, like melted plastic and scorched wood. His GPS froze. His phone dimmed. But Haley's icon pulsed again. Only now, it said, 0.2 miles ahead. He stepped into the trees. The dirt was soft. Too soft. His boots sank half an inch. And everything was silent. No insects. No birds. No breeze. As if sound had been turned off. Then, he saw them. Her shoes. Laid side by side. Still damp from dew. Still warm to the touch. And something else beside them. Her phone. Screen cracked. Flickering. Still running Google Maps. But this time, the screen showed a new message. "Welcome back. Turn right." Aaron picked up the phone. Shouldn't have had power. Shouldn't have turned on. But it did. And as he turned to leave, he realized something terrifying. He didn't know which way he came from. There were no tire tracks. No path. His own footprints had vanished. Then the whispering started. Soft, like radio static underwater. "Come home, Daddy." It was her voice. He hadn't heard it since the accident. But it wasn't a memory. It was now. He ran, blind, through fog that shouldn't have been there, branches tugging at his clothes, a chill crawling down his spine like fingers. When he made it back to his car, 3 hours had passed, but he swore it felt like 10 minutes. His flashlight was broken, his coat torn, and on the passenger seat laid a folded piece of paper, one he'd never seen before. On it, a map, hand-drawn, childlike, with one line twisting through woods and looping back on itself, over and over again, until it ended in a crude black scribble, with one word beneath it, U. In 2003, GPS systems were primitive. No smartphones, no live tracking. So why did a file buried in a decades-old archive, from a device that should have stopped working, show real-time movement? And why did it whisper, not static, but words? Words that responded to the man who pressed play. Cale Brennan worked in digital preservation. Not crime, not conspiracy. His job was to digitize and archive outdated tech. Old floppy disks, corrupted drives, forgotten systems. He loved silence, logic, and things that made sense. Until he found the Garmin unit. Came in an unmarked box, labeled only MC03 Echo. No paperwork, no record of chain of custody. Inside, an early 2000s handheld GPS unit, scuffed and weather-worn, but blinking red, still powered. No way this has juice, he muttered. But it did, almost like it had been fed. He connected it to a forensic data bridge. Expected corrupt data, maybe some coordinates. Instead, he heard breathing, slow, rhythmic, wet. Then a voice, small, childlike, distant. Are you lost too? The folder's metadata claimed it was created in 2003, last accessed in 2025, the day before he opened it. But the unit had been sealed in an archive for over 15 years. No one should have touched it. Inside the folder, one item, a sound file labeled Talia Loop 001.wave. Cale froze. That name. He remembered the news. Talia Veers, the girl who disappeared 2 months earlier, after following a ghost road. But the file's date was 22 years before she was born. When he played the file, it wasn't static. It was her, Talia, breathing hard, crying, whispering, "Dad? I see him again. He's waiting at the bend. I shouldn't have taken the turn. The road's inside me now." Then silence. Then a man's voice, deep, untraceable. "She is not the first. She is not the last. Threadpoint accepts all." Cale shut his laptop. The sound didn't stop. The whisper began to bleed from the speakers. Not from the file. From the air. He heard it in his apartment vents. In the running water. In the Google Assistant that activated at 3:12 a.m. and said, "Cale, you turned left. Finish the path." He unplugged everything. Went to stay at a friend's place. But the voice followed. Not just through devices. Through dreams. He kept waking up in sweat. Hands clutching at his throat. And always, the same image drawn in his notebook the next morning. A spiral made of roads. Ending at a black square. The label changed each time. One night it read Threadpoint. Another, "Welcome back." But the last, just one word, "Me." Days later, he returned to the lab, plugged in the Garmin again. And now, there were 5 more audio logs, each dated back to years before the speaker existed. One was from Morgan Tellis, another, the Roth couple, even Aaron's daughter, Haley. Every voice recorded in that device, years before they disappeared, each one ending with a whisper. It's already in the maps, but the most recent file, dated 2 days in the future, labeled Cale Brennan last turn.wave. He never pressed play, because he didn't need to. Cale deleted every file, destroyed the laptop, wiped every drive, burned the unit, or so he thought. The next morning, his car's navigation system, one he never used, booted up by itself. On screen, no destination, just a single sentence. Route confirmed. 0.8 miles to Threadpoint. He tried to shut it off, unplugged the battery, kept glowing, kept pulsing, and in the cup holder, where he kept his phone, he found a printed photo of himself, sleeping, taken from inside the car, while he was alone. That same day, his apartment was found abandoned. Nothing left but ash. But the building hadn't burned. There was no fire, just the smell of ozone, and a melted Google Home speaker, still faintly whispering, "Turn right. We're waiting. You've been mapped." She never downloaded the app. She didn't trust GPS, didn't even own a smartphone. But one morning, there it was, a blue navigation arrow, painted on the sidewalk outside her apartment. No signs, no roadwork, just the arrow, pointing left. Every day after that, there were more. Only she could see them, only she could follow. And what waited at the end already knew her darkest memory. Ivy Wren had no digital footprint. She lived offline, worked at a used bookstore, wrote on typewriters. Not out of nostalgia, but fear. Her sister disappeared when Ivy was 13, after following a GPS glitch on a borrowed phone. Her last message? "This road feels wrong, but it says I'm almost home." Her sister was never found. So Ivy deleted everything. No apps, no cloud. She swore she'd never follow a screen again. And for 17 years, she kept that promise. Until the arrows began. It wasn't chalk. It wasn't paint. It looked burned into the concrete. Perfect blue arrow, slightly glowing in the morning shade, pointing toward a narrow alley, behind a crumbling church. No one else saw it. Not the neighbor walking her dog. Not the mailman. No one. But Ivy stood there, frozen, because she'd seen this exact shape once before. In her sister's sketchbook. Right before she vanished. Page after page. Same arrow. Same curve. Same soft blue shimmer. "Turn left," it had said. Almost home. The night her sister disappeared, Ivy had a dream. A road with no signs. A man with no face. And arrows glowing softly beneath her feet, leading into a forest that pulsed like it had a heartbeat. She never spoke of it. She buried it deep, told herself it wasn't real. But the day she saw the arrow again, the memory came back, like it had never left. The next day, there were 2 arrows. One on the sidewalk, another on the wall of a cafe she'd never entered. Still glowing faintly, still only visible to her. She touched it, expecting cold stone. But it was warm, like someone had just finished painting it. With their fingers, she turned back, went home, locked her doors. But that night, on the ceiling above her bed, another arrow appeared, pointing straight down at her. She began hearing soft turn-by-turn instructions. Not from a phone, from everywhere. In the hiss of the shower, in the rustle of leaves, in the creak of the floorboards. In 500 feet, your memory begins. Next turn, her reflection began to delay. 1 second too slow. Her eyes began glowing faintly blue in photographs, even Polaroids, and her dreams became maps. With ink-stained fingers, she traced paths in her sleep, paths she didn't recognize by day, but could walk perfectly at night. "You're almost home," the voices whispered. She's been waiting. That's when she saw him. Not in real life, in shadows. Every time she followed an arrow, he appeared 1 step closer. Tall, still, wearing a driver's uniform, cap low, face blurred. He didn't move, didn't breathe, but each night, he was closer. 1 step, 2 steps. Then, at her front door, on the 6th day, the arrows stopped leading forward. They split, left or right, both glowing, both humming. She stood there, 1 foot in each direction, heart pounding, and suddenly, the voice changed. It wasn't directions anymore. It was her sister's voice. "You have to choose. They only let you walk 1 thread." Ivy broke, sank to her knees, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why now?" The walls answered. "You were always mapped. You just stopped looking." Ivy took the left path. and didn't come home that night. But at sunrise, a bookstore regular found a typewritten page taped to the front door. It was still warm. It read, "It's not a road. It's a memory you walk through. Every arrow points to something you left behind." And scribbled at the bottom, in a shaky blue pen, a note that chilled everyone who read it. "She says she's not alone in there anymore. I think she found the others." It was never just a glitch, never just bad code. Threadpoint wasn't a place. It was a decision, one made long before you ever opened the app. You didn't follow the map. The map followed you, and once it reroutes, there's no coming back, unless you understand why it chose you. 7 disappearances, 7 paths, 7 stories, each one twisted through roads that shouldn't exist. Talia, Morgan, the Roth couple, Kale, Haley, Ivy, and now the last entry in the database. Timestamped tomorrow. A name the system couldn't explain, but one we recognize now. Threadpoint/0.0.0U. This isn't just about the vanished. It's about the ones who searched, and what they became. It started with a glitch in the mapping logic. An empty zone where satellite data failed. A loop, a silent spiral. Coordinates that erased themselves once viewed. But each victim was tied to an unhealed fracture. Loss, regret, buried memory. The moment you question your reality, it sees you, marks you, and maps you. Each story isn't isolated. Each victim saw shadows of the last. "She said my name," Ivy whispered in the audio recovered by an unknown source. "But I've never met her." She was talking about Haley. And Haley's father? Reported hearing a voice whispering Morgan in his sleep. Morgan's recovered sketchbook contained drawings of the faceless driver from years before she vanished. Long before she should have known him. These people never met, but their roads overlapped. A corrupted security feed recovered from a Marrow Creek gas station captured 4 individuals appearing on the same night, all disoriented, walking in opposite directions, bleeding, muttering GPS instructions aloud. But none of them had devices. One screamed, "I went left. I wasn't supposed to go left." Another whispered, "The road's inside me. It doesn't stop." Then static. And all 4 disappeared from frame, simultaneously. The timestamp? 3:33 a.m. The same time every victim's last signal was recorded. Threadpoint wasn't built. It was found. In ancient mapping systems, in forgotten folklore, in a medieval sailor's journal, describing a path that unravels sanity. A recurring theme, the traveler sees himself before he is lost. It isn't physical, it's relational, a liminal dimension that intersects with our world. Only when we doubt our direction, like a parasite, feeds on choice, free will, uncertainty. When you ask the wrong question, when did I get here? Why can't I remember that turn? Who's driving? That's when Threadpoint opens, and the map reroutes, not because it's broken, but because you are. Last week, a new voice appeared in the corrupted archive, one not heard since the beginning. Talia, faint but clear, repeating the same sentence every hour on the hour. "I made it to the center. I saw it. It wasn't a road. It was a memory trying to forget itself." She goes silent, then whispers, "It remembers us now." The files began duplicating after that, over 100 versions. And in each new one, your location was tagged. Your phone vibrates. No notifications. No messages. Just one word on the lock screen. Rerouting. A glowing blue arrow appears at your feet, painted on the sidewalk. No one else sees it. Curves gently left, into a place that doesn't exist. And from far away, a voice you once loved whispers, "We're waiting. It's your turn." You check your map. No signal. No service. Just one line on the screen. "Welcome to Threadpoint." What do you think Threadpoint really is? A cursed algorithm? A psychological fracture? Or something worse? Comment below and tell us, would you follow the arrows? Or would you pretend you never saw them? Subscribe to the Veil of Secret for more stories that slip between the cracks, between memory and map.